Hello, lovelies. Okay, so today I am continuing with the symbolism of coronavirus. And today it's all about the origin of where it came from. And so, as we know, because it's in the public domain, is that it came from the bat. This is where it began. And so, as we know, the symbolism of the bat is that it is a creature of the underworld. It's a creature of darkness and of the night. So we have been conditioned in our lives to be afraid of the dark because it's where everything is hidden and it's everything that we can't see, so therefore it's the unknown. So we have been conditioned to fear the unknown. So this is why we habitually need to plan and know what we're doing every single moment of every given day, because to be in the unknown, to be in that land of darkness, it's actually very, very scary for us. So we need to be in control. And so the bat, is also blind. And what's beautiful about this is that when we are blind, we are blinded by everything on the external. So we are continuously focusing our attention and our awareness on everything on the external to give us a sense of identity, which is all built into our safety, our stability, and our security. And so we are blinded by everything on the external, and we are therefore blinded to what is really going on under the surface, in the darkness, in the hidden realms of the self. And so the bat in coronavirus is actually really symbolic of showing us now that there is something hidden in the individual and the collective that is now asking to come into the light. It's something that we need to see more clearly. And so, as we know, everything that we manifest on the external in every relationship that we have with people, our careers, our money, our home, everything on the external, that relationship has been manifested and created first from the darkness. It's been created from our unconscious and the way in which we relate to the world through our wounding, our trauma, and our conditioning. And so what now we are experiencing is that suddenly we're in the dark. We're in this moment of great darkness because everything has been taken away from us. So the way in which we live, the way in which we relate, the way in which we consume, and everything that we've taken for granted has suddenly started to be taken away from us. So we are finding ourselves that we're actually in the dark. And obviously this then creates panic and fear. So we'll go on into a bit more of the panic and fear in a while. And so the bat, it passed through to the snake, and the snake is the one that passed it through to the human. And so the symbolism of the snake is that they are messengers between the upper and the lower world. So in the shamanic realms, we have the upper world, the middle world, and the lower world. So we work between worlds. And the snake is the messenger between those two worlds. It connects the above and the below. And so, as we know with the snake, it slithers on the ground, on the surface, but it's also able to go between the cracks and descend into the underworld, into the darkness. So if you think about this in regards to our human beingness, we are who we are on the surface, but there is so much more to us hidden in the depth of who we are, in the depth of our shadow, our soul, and our psyche. And so the snake can really represent that symbolism by being the person that we are to the external world, but the truth of who we are from the internal world. And the snake connects these two worlds. And then also the snake is also in ancient mythology and also in our creation stories. It's the symbol of birth and regeneration. And so what happens with the snake is that it sheds its skin. The old skin that's no longer needed is shedded so that it can be rebirthed and regenerated into something new, creating new life. So as we know, this is something that we are all going through. We are now being asked to let go of the old way of being. of what no longer serves us, because we are having to change and adapt to our current circumstances in a very extreme way so that we can ultimately be rebirthed and regenerate on the other side. And so this is really interesting, because what coronavirus is asking us to do, it's breaking down our sense of identity. So everything that we've created in regards to our identity, and that identity is so invested in the external, is that suddenly that's gone. That's going. So we have to realign, and we have to adapt to this new level of circumstances, which is asking us to let go of our old way of being. But we are actually finding this really, really challenging, because we have been so conditioned and we've been so accustomed to habitually focus all of our attention on the external. So investing in our careers and our money and our home and our families and friends and everything else, everything is external. And we've created such a strong attachment to all these aspects of life that if we take away any of those aspects, we don't know who we are anymore. We struggle. It's kind of like, well, I've built up so much of my identity through having that attachment to whatever it is in the external, that if we take that away, that's when we start to wobble. And this is now what we're experiencing with a lot of the panic and the fear which is coming up through the coronavirus. It's not necessarily that we are afraid of catching the coronavirus, although that is part of it, but what we're ultimately afraid of is having to go through this death process of the old ways of being. And that's really shaking our internal foundation, because nothing anymore is stable. Nothing anymore is secure. Nothing anymore is 100% safe. And we've invested all of this time and all of our years into this illusion. And that's now being taken away. And so now what this suggests to us is that by working with the energy of the snake and having to go through this death process, that we are now having to face the hidden. We're having to go within, so that we don't completely freak out and we don't completely, lose all of our marbles. But we are being called to go within, because we can no longer distract ourselves through all of that external life. We're having to sit in our own homes. And so this is a great moment for us to tune in and do the inner work. And therefore, what we're coming to face with in our own darkness is all of the unresolved wounds and traumas that we're actually holding on to, which is causing toxic emotional pollution inside of us. And that's not easy, because suddenly we are faced with our own mortality. We're having to face and feel all of those unresolved emotions. And so it becomes really triggering for us to be able to step into this place of the unknown, to be able to step into this moment of darkness. But yet, the coronavirus and the symbolism of the snake is actually calling for us to return back to the darkness, back to our internal world, and back to our source. So, in our creation story, we are developed through the womb, and the womb is a place of darkness. We are held in darkness for 9 months. And then when we are birthed and we come out through the birth canal, we are attached to the mother through the umbilical cord, which is also symbolic of the snake. But what happens is that we then come out of the birth canal, we are birthed into the world, and suddenly that umbilical cord that connected us to the mother gets cut, it gets severed. So suddenly we are separate, and we are having to rely on everybody around us for our survival. And so what happens is that we have become separated from our source. And so we have been then conditioned, as we've gone along, we've been molded by our immediate environment and the people that we have come into contact with, and that's normally our family of origin. And so we've been molded and shaped according to their beliefs, their behaviors, their habits. And so we have naturally absorbed all of that into our makeup, into who we are, into our identity. And so ultimately, what we have been in our journey through our own evolution, it is to return back to source, to reconnect back with who we truly are on the inside, rather than who we have been conditioned to be. And this again is symbolic of the serpent energy, the serpent that coils round, that eats itself, and that goes round and round. This is the symbol of birth and regeneration. So if we're able in this moment to return back to source, to reconnect with self, to stop ourselves from feeling separate, because when we become like coronavirus is doing at the moment, it's isolating us into our own environment, really on a micro level. And so we feel isolated, but yet we are so connected on the inside, but we just don't know it because we've got all of this conditioning around us. And so now what it's asking us is to break down all of those walls of the conditioning so we can really connect back to our source energy. We're reconnecting back to that great umbilical cord where we are connected to everything. And everything is connected and nothing is really as it seems. We're in that place of the unknown, the magic of the cosmos that exists on the outside because it exists on the inside. So this is really a moment for us to begin to heal and reveal and integrate the fragmented and disassociated self, all of those aspects of self that have become fragmented and disassociated through wounding, trauma, and conditioning. This is a moment for us to reconnect with all of that energy to stop us from feeling isolated and alone and separate. And so it's a moment for us to reconnect back to our divine purpose and own our sovereignty. And so this is the magic of the serpent and the bat, which has come through the symbolism of the coronavirus. And we are living in exciting times. And so, what is your experience of death and rebirth? What is this time asking you to let go of, to die, that's no longer needed? How is it asking you to redefine your relationship with yourself and others and Mother Earth? What mode of behavior in regards to consumerism and the way in which you interact with life is it asking you to let go of so you can become more aligned with the truth of who you are? And I would love to hear from you. So please do leave a message down below in the comments. And if you are ready to step in and do the inner work necessary, then please come over to thefeminineprinciple.com. And I'm sure that we will engage in this depth and beauty of this work together. Lots of love. Bye-bye.